The room smelled like cheap roses and bad decisions. Lila stood in a borrowed white dress 2 sizes too big, her hands trembling as she clutched a fake bouquet of plastic lilies. Her eyes were wide and lost, staring at the man standing beside her. He wore a wrinkled brown coat with holes at the elbows, boots that looked like they belonged in the trash, and his long dark hair was tucked beneath a ragged beanie. His name was Jay, or at least that's what Rhonda called him. Rhonda stood a few feet away, arms crossed, her mouth curled into a smug grin. She had put this entire wedding together in less than a week. There was no music, no friends, no family. Just a justice of the peace who clearly didn't care about anyone's feelings, and the scent of something rotten beneath the chapel's floorboards. Lila was only 17. The justice of the peace cleared his throat. "Do you, Lila Grace Carter, take this man to be your lawful wedded husband?" She didn't answer. She looked over at Rhonda, who narrowed her eyes and gave the tiniest nod, more like a threat than encouragement. Lila swallowed hard. She felt like she was going to throw up. I do," she whispered. Jay said nothing for a long moment. Then, finally, he looked at her, just briefly. His eyes were strangely calm, as if none of this mattered. Then he nodded once. "I do." And just like that, it was done. 3 years ago, Lila's life was normal. Her parents were alive. Her father ran a successful construction company, and her mother stayed home, cooking, singing, and making every day feel like a warm summer afternoon. Then came the car crash. It was a rainy night. A truck ran a red light. Lila was the only one who survived. After that, Rhonda, her father's second wife, took control. Rhonda had always pretended to be sweet while Lila's father was alive, but after the funeral, she turned cold. Cold and cruel. She shut down Lila's bank accounts, sold off her belongings, and told her she was lucky to have a roof over her head. But Lila remembered the will. Her father promised she'd inherit everything when she turned 18. His house, his savings, even the construction company. Rhonda had only 1 year left before that happened. And Rhonda didn't plan on letting that year pass quietly. Jay didn't say a word as they left the courthouse and climbed into Rhonda's beat-up Ford. He smelled like smoke and street dust, but there was something strange about him. He didn't slouch like most homeless men. His shoulders were straight. His hands, while dirty, looked strong. "Steady. Where are we going?" Lila finally asked, breaking the silence in the backseat. "To your new home," Rhonda said without turning around. "You're married now. Congratulations, Mrs. Nobody." Lila bit her lip and looked out the window. They drove for almost 40 minutes, passing through neighborhoods that got poorer and more rundown by the mile. Finally, they pulled up in front of a half-broken trailer on a forgotten road. Rhonda stepped out, tossed Lila's small duffel bag on the dirt, and pointed. "There. That's your palace. Live happy. Don't call me unless someone dies. Or better yet, don't call me at all." Lila didn't move. Her eyes burned, but she didn't let the tears fall. Jay got out, picked up the bag, and walked toward the trailer without a word. She followed him. She didn't have a choice. Inside, the place was cleaner than expected, but still small and sad. One couch, one tiny stove, a fold-out bed, a single bathroom with a rust-stained sink. Jay placed the bag down and looked at her. "You can have the bed," he said, voice low and firm. "I didn't ask for this," Lila snapped. "I didn't ask to marry some." "I know," he interrupted. "Neither did I." That shut her up. He walked into the bathroom and closed the door behind him. Lila sat on the bed, pulled her knees to her chest, and stared at the ceiling. She felt like she'd been thrown into a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. That night, she cried quietly into the pillow. Jay slept on the floor, wrapped in an old blanket. He didn't say anything else. Didn't try to touch her or get close. It was strange. He was a stranger, but not dangerous. He was just quiet. The next morning, she woke up to the smell of eggs. Jay was cooking. "Where'd you get eggs?" she asked, confused. He didn't answer. Just placed a plate in front of her and sat down on the other side of the room with his own. The eggs were warm. Real. Delicious. She studied him while he ate. There was something in the way he moved, measured, deliberate. Not like someone who'd been living on the streets for long. And his hands, they looked like they used to wear rings. Expensive ones. A few days passed. Jay never left her alone for long. He walked her to the bus stop when she tried to find a job. He waited outside when she went to the grocery store. He never asked questions, never got too close, but he was always there. One evening, while sweeping the trailer's front step, Lila spotted a black SUV parked across the street. Tinted windows. Expensive rims. A man stepped out, handed something to Jay, and said, "The account's ready. Everything's set." Jay nodded once, slipped the envelope into his coat, and walked back toward the trailer. Lila watched from the window, heart pounding. Who was he? Lila sat on the porch steps, hugging her knees, watching the last orange rays of sunlight disappear behind the trees. Jay was inside, reading some old book he'd found in a crate. That man was a mystery. He barely spoke, but he was always doing things that didn't add up. Like how he knew how to cook 5-star meals using nothing but basic groceries. Or how he fixed the busted sink without needing instructions. Or that envelope last week. That envelope haunted her thoughts. She hadn't asked what was in it, partly because she was scared, partly because she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Inside, Jay closed the book and glanced toward the window where Lila sat today. She was always thinking, watching, observing. He liked that, but it also meant she'd figure things out soon. Jay Carter, real name, Jason Westbrook III, wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to marry a girl forced into it by a greedy stepmother. But when his lawyer told him someone was plotting to rob a young heiress of her inheritance, he got curious. His company, Westbrook Holdings, had a small stake in Carter Construction, just enough for his legal team to catch whispers of something strange. A minor shareholder had flagged the sudden asset sales. Then came the forged power of attorney documents Rhonda submitted after Lila's parents died. It stank of fraud. Jason decided to investigate it himself. Disguised. Quietly. He hadn't expected the girl to be so real, or for her eyes to make him feel things he hadn't felt in years. The next morning, Lila decided she'd had enough of being quiet. She needed answers. "Who was that man who gave you the envelope last week?" she asked over cereal. Jay looked at her and raised an eyebrow. "You think I didn't notice? I saw the car. I saw you take something from him." He paused for a moment, then stood and grabbed his jacket. "Let's take a walk." A walk. Now. Still, she followed him. Something about Jay made her feel safe, even when she was angry. They walked down the dirt road in silence for a few minutes before he finally spoke. "I'm not who you think I am." She blinked. "Okay, so who are you?" "I was born rich. Not just rich, billionaire rich. But I left that world." "Why?" Jay stopped and looked at her. "Because money made everyone around me fake. I couldn't trust anyone. So, I disappeared. Changed my name. I've been living like this by choice." Lila stared at him. "You expect me to believe that you're some rich guy pretending to be homeless?" "Not pretending," he said calmly. "Just choosing to live outside the noise." Lila laughed. "Just once. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard." He shrugged. "You wanted the truth." "But why would you marry me?" she asked, almost whispering. Jay looked at her, and for the first time, there was something soft in his eyes. "Because you didn't deserve what was happening to you. And because Rhonda made the mistake of dragging me into it." That night, Lila couldn't sleep. Was it possible? Could Jay really be a billionaire hiding in plain sight? And if so, what did that mean for her? For them. She sat by the window, staring up at the stars. Her whole life, she'd felt like a background character in someone else's story. Her parents died, Rhonda took over, and now she was married to a stranger with secrets. But what if she wasn't a background character anymore? A week later, Rhonda showed up uninvited. She banged on the trailer door with that same smug look on her face. "Time's up," she said when Jay opened the door. "This little marriage thing was fun, but it's over. I've filed the paperwork. I'm selling the house, the the company, everything. You two are free to be poor together. Lila stepped forward, heart pounding. You can't do that. My dad left those things to me. Rhonda smirked. Yay. Prove it. Jay calmly stepped between them. Actually, she doesn't need to. I already did. Rhonda blinked. What? He pulled a folded document from his jacket and handed it to her. These are official records from the county clerk's office, including a notarized copy of Lila's father's original will. Also included are statements proving you forged signatures and sold assets illegally. Rhonda's face turned pale. Who the hell do you think you are? She snapped. Jay smiled, cold and controlled. I'm Jason Westbrook, CEO of Westbrook Holdings. And as of this morning, I've bought back every share of Carter Construction you tried to sell. Lila's mouth fell open. You're lying, Rhonda hissed. Jay didn't even blink. No, but you have been, for a very long time. And now, I'm done letting you get away with it. Rhonda backed away slowly, her fake confidence crumbling. You'll regret this. I doubt it, Jay said. She stormed off, peeling away in her car like a scene from a bad movie. Later that evening, Lila sat on the porch beside Jay, still trying to process everything. You really are rich. Very. Like, private jet, luxury yacht rich. Yep. And you married me knowing I had nothing. I didn't marry you because of what you had, he said quietly. I married you because I saw who you were. Brave. Honest. Real. Lila didn't know what to say. Her world had flipped in a week. From orphan girl in a borrowed dress to legally married to a billionaire in hiding. Jay stood up and offered her his hand. Come on. Let's go inside. I want to show you something. She followed him. He opened a hidden panel beneath the trailer floor and pulled out a small black box. Inside was a diamond necklace, glittering like a piece of heaven. It was my mother's, he said. I want you to have it. Lila stared at the necklace, then at Jay. I'm still not sure what this is, or where we're going, she whispered. He nodded. Me neither. But we'll figure it out. Together. Morning came with a cool breeze and the scent of fresh coffee brewing inside the trailer. For the first time in months, Lila woke up without a pit of worry in her stomach. The weight of Rhonda's threats was still there, but Jay's presence felt like a shield around her. She stood by the small window, watching the sun peek over the trees, when Jay walked in holding 2 steaming mugs. Here, he said, handing her one. Thought you could use this. Lila smiled for the first time in a long while. Thanks. They sat down together, sipping the coffee in comfortable silence. Outside, the world kept turning, but inside that little trailer, something new was beginning, hope. Jay had made good on his promises. By the end of the week, Rhonda's plans to sell Carter Construction were stopped cold. The courts had frozen the sales, and her fraudulent documents were being investigated. Lila was finally free to claim what was rightfully hers. But the victory was bittersweet. Do you want to go back to the city? Jay asked one evening, after they'd shared a simple dinner. Lila thought about it. The city was where her parents had lived. It was where her life had fallen apart. But it was also where the company, the fortune, and the future were. I'm scared, she admitted. I don't know if I belong there anymore. Jay took her hand. You belong wherever you want to be. And I'm with you, wherever that is. With Jay's help, Lila began rebuilding her life piece by piece. She hired a small team to help her manage the company, honest people who cared about the legacy her parents left behind. She even started taking classes at a community college to finish the education her father wanted for her. Her confidence grew each day. No longer the scared orphan, she was becoming a woman ready to fight for her place in the world. But not everyone was happy about her rise. Rhonda was still lurking in the shadows, trying to find a way to sabotage Lila's progress. She spread rumors, tried to turn people against her, and even attempted to bribe some of the staff. One afternoon, Lila received an anonymous note. Stay away from the company, or else. Instead of fear, it made her angry. I'm not going anywhere, she told Jay, showing him the note. If anything, this just proves I'm on the right track. Jay nodded. And I'm here to make sure no one stops you. Slowly but surely, the public started to notice the change at Carter Construction. Stories appeared about the young woman who had taken back her family's legacy. Articles called her brave, determined, and a rising star in the business world. Lila read them all, but what mattered most was the quiet moments with Jay, when they planned their future, shared dreams, and laughed about the craziness of their journey. One night, under a sky full of stars, Jay pulled Lila close. "There's something I want to ask you," he said softly. Lila looked up at him, heart pounding. "Will you stay with me? Not just for now, but forever." As Mrs. Westbrook. Tears welled up in Lila's eyes. She nodded, barely able to speak. "Yes, I will." They kissed under the moonlight, sealing a promise that neither poverty nor greed could break. The next morning, they began making plans for a future neither of them had dared to imagine. For Lila, it was more than a new life. It was a chance to be truly loved, truly free, and truly herself. And for Jay, it was the start of something real, a life beyond wealth and shadows, built on trust and hope. Together, they would rise.